Checking news. Thursday, July 12th. Pound, we have medium impact at the usual time, hour and 20 from now. What's going on today? Not much, which is fine. We don't need much. ECB policy minutes. That's in about 4 hours. U.S. session, unemployment claims, core CPI. Usual stuff, usual time. Pretty normal day. That pound news is only listed as medium impact. It's really all about the U.S. session news at the usual time. Usual stuff. All right. Coffee's almost ready. I'll figure out what that chord is. Sounds like a diminished, some variation of. All right. Almost ready here. Sorry, 1 second. Black coffee. Ugh. Ah, I'll live. Barely. So, how about that euro dollar? How about that euro dollar? Sometimes you just ignore everything, trade the best setup, and it's that easy. Let's take a look. Now we've since broke through this 618, but Let's look back at yesterday real quick here. So this was a fib area. We got strength, we got low volume test, we got entry, we got up move, we got some weakness. Stop saying we got. And it was a nice, easy situation once again. Hopefully you took advantage of what I say yesterday. Let's just do the same thing again, right? And that's what happened. That's it. So now, as I said, there was weakness that came in here. We see a fake break pattern. We see high volume. We see the results. It's a real sell-off here. So, and it accepted these lower prices. So something changed. The buyers kind of got out for whatever reason. Who cares, right? That's what the chart says. And let's just clean it all up here. It's like we didn't have to redraw anything this week until now. So when you break 618 and you stay below it, that's bearish. When you see this much weakness, that's bearish. I'm going to mark this as a previous support to resistance. We get an idea of how much volume was on that. It was pretty high. We milked it a couple of times there. Let it go now. It's bearish, and I'd be looking for signs of weakness. Now we could get it right into the old support, now turn resistance. Taking a closer look again. Again, weakness. Here was it's a new low ground. Saw a bit of buying, but that was really probably not followed up on very much. No. This is really sloppy today. So we're already heading up to that support term resistance. That's the first area I would consider the short, just knowing how these things tend to go. If we go higher, there are levels, but I don't think we will. I think there's a good chance of it setting up from here because of that huge sell-off through this area. I don't see it being able to be pushed up there, but it's possible. We'll find out if it gets a little higher, if sellers are showing up here or not. But just to mark it in case it does go up there, what would we have? Well, at least we don't have to wait. We get to find out here if these sellers are going to show up. Let's just trade the euro. All right, we'll see how that goes. Pound, that ripped right through. We're down at that support. But I would imagine this is a dollar correlated weakness, which it is. So things have turned bearish here. On these first three pairs, the dollar gained some strength for whatever reason. Because Trump's bullying everybody, which is fine with me. See the weakness. Highest volume in a couple of days. Highest volume of the week so far. Some stuff that occurred here. We see the result. We see the lack of any buying into this. So very obviously turned bearish. We already have a fib retracement on this. So we might be in a situation where there's correlation with selling showing up. So we're right at areas where we may see that and not have to wait. Maybe they'll show up, maybe they won't. Again, with the pound, just like the euro dollar, it's at a support to resistance. So they're all three of these are at areas where I would project the first spot to consider the short and look for sellers to show up. All three of them just happen to be there right now. Pretty much. Pretty much. So that's what it's all about. If the sellers don't show up and it goes higher, again, we have some other areas. I suspect they will, but I'm not going to assume. I would guess they are going to show up, but we will see the facts. That could be the high of the day right there. All right, good. Not much waiting. We'll see. Yen pairs. Clean this up. Quite a difference. These guys are normally more correlated. Obviously, the dollar and the yen have broken off. And there's the dollar yen. Strong dollar, weak yen. So they're not correlating together as they were, as they often do. So we have bullishness on the yen pairs, bearishness on those dollar pairs. So go through the yens. A lot of activity late yesterday. Looks like things sort of shifted around and new bias showed up. Take a closer look at yesterday here, AJ. Yeah, you see some strength, and then here, really a huge spike. Again, strength. We see the outcome. We don't really see much weakness here. And just couldn't wait to continue higher today. High volume leading to higher prices. Now, as far as areas to go along, it's in this at least so far. Yeah, well, these are very strong right now. Okay. Well, if we move down, first of all, obviously I'd be looking for strength. If we come down off of that, we have some confluence there. So the yens are bullish. So that would be pretty textbook if we come down. I wouldn't want to buy right into this high anyway. But that's if we can even move down. If not, I would let this go. I wouldn't be buying right into that high. That's pretty much the only thing I would look to do. Let's see if there's maybe a higher level, but probably not. No. And these guys are just running off into new high ground. We didn't even back out. Where are we? It's just very weak yen causing this stuff. So let's get in there. EJ. Yeah, there's some weakness. Maybe we can have a retracement here. and get a typical trend trade. Again, if it makes new high ground, these fibs would have to be redrawn. But for the moment, if we can pull back from here, we have this good, clean, obvious stuff. It's pretty darn good for July, gotta say. Very often over the years, it's been total crap. Not the case. So the Euro's was just too easy this week. And now we have some really clean, obvious trends in July. Good stuff. Are we tired of winning? I'm tired of winning. Please, Pete Fader, no more winning. These are all like fib confluence with previous resistance, very clean. So if we come down, we have that. I mean, the only thing, the alternative here is to like take a scalp entry if we were really void of sellers on this strong trend. That's not the case. Well, first of all, we're going to get the volume spike at this time of day. So, Kendall, yes. After the analysis, can you break down why you say the whole direction has changed and this isn't just a temporary dip? Okay, well, it all comes down to volume for the most part. But volume, structure, the way it's broken 618. But yeah, I'll show it in detail. But all the usual tools are just pointing to that. But if we just continue up, there's the option of the scalp entry if it's just runaway trends on the yen in particular. But I would like, of course, the textbook retracement trade. Take it as it comes. But of course, we have the market open spike, so it's not going to be able to show us high prices without high volume. The last 20 minutes or so here, but we're getting past that. So we'll see if it comes down for the long setup or if it continues up because of such lack of selling that we just continue up and we see no signs of weakness. And in that case, I would consider a scalp entry, but it would have to look really good. I prefer to get a retracement. We'll see. I'll take it as it comes here. More coffee. Okay, so to explain more detail why. So the first thing is, again, it's a couple of things lined up. First thing is the breaking of the 618 and staying below it before we even get to volume, right? Just price wise, to break a 618 and stay below it, not a quick overshoot. It tells us that the buyers didn't show up, and typically we end up testing the where you drew the fib from once you break the 618, right? Now volume has to agree, and where that comes in is this very, very high volume. Well, at least fairly high. And the outcome, the result. Here we had high volume. If you notice, we did float up the next day. And by the time you get into this session, we actually cleared what looked like high volume weakness, right? And that's very important. In this case, we had high volume weakness and this result. This is a real sell-off. We haven't seen really a move quite like that in a little while. And then to settle into these lower prices without strength. Also, the smaller time frames do show the weakness there, and it is a fake break pattern. So it has to do with the breaking of the 618, the high volume weakness, the low volume at the low prices. And again, if sellers show up here, we really have turned around. So volume and price-wise and structure-wise. Nothing complicated. AU, okay, let's look at that. Yeah, I mean, obviously this is lower lows, lower highs. We have high volume in this area. Again, we have the weakness in the outcome and the acceptance of lower prices. So this is telling us supply is selling is overwhelming in this area, and the buying here is very inactive. So we do have an imbalance in that direction. Now, really is that simple. Now, typically reversal situations more often will appear into the high of the trend or a fake break, right? But either way, it has to appear in a weakness on an up move, and that's that. So the volume's there to support it, the structure, the breaking of the 618. That's really it. But yeah, let's see. Again, this is market open volume spike, so it's not so trustworthy. But now we're getting past that. Let's see the 1 minute. It's a fake breakout. If this is starting to move down from this point, no demand would be valid. I would like a cleaner sign of weakness. That's not the market open volume spike, but this is 15 minutes into it. 20 minutes, and the volume still stayed high. Fake break pattern result. So I'm starting to trust it that it may come down off of here. So a no demand, let's test for buyers and see. Would be nice here. Yeah, GU rejecting right off of that level. It's also just very clean too. It's not sloppy really in any way. Here again, as I said, I suspected that this is going to reject. There it goes. And that's the old support to resistance. That was a real sell-off yesterday. It really changed the background. That's all there is to it. GU hour found its support on the 50. GU support. Very low activity. So again, selling in this price area, very active. Buying off the bottom, very inactive. So we have an imbalance. So there's no issue with the fact that there's a support there. We're looking at the supply-demand balance. It's very out of balance and bearish. So incorrect. I would look to sell. Just because there's support, it's not an issue. It's the activity. If you compare the amount of selling that's going on here with the amount of buying here, I mean, volume just shows it. We're completely out of balance. Makes sense? That's it. There's no amazing magic thing I could tell you. It's just the volume, where it happened, how it happened, what the result was, guides the way. And then the follow up here if we're moving up to see selling coming in. which they are. So no demand would be valid. Again, so it's the market open spike, but it's very clean here. This is 15 minutes into the session, and the volume's higher. It's right off of that level with our weakness. And a no demand here. I'm not going to rush it, but no demand shorts are now valid on these dollar pairs. Again, if these yen pairs just want to go for it, once it clears this high, again, I prefer a retracement. But once it clears the high, it's going to tell you about sellers, and they may be just so inactive and show you why we can't get a retracement, and a scalp entry off the 14 would be more realistic. But, I like to trade. I like the retracements, but, there are those more rare times where the chart just says this thing is not turning around. It's going for another leg. We'll see if that's the case. But hopefully it all makes sense to you. Bearish on the dollar. For the US dollar, again, look at the dollar yen, which, for a time, it correlated and now really broke off with the dollar strong and the yen weak. So that backs up the whole analysis on those. The buying of the euro that we were working off of is completely overshadowed by this US dollar strength situation and yen weakness. And that's really the story. US dollar very strong, yen very weak. It's nice that those two are still driving the market, but they are not correlated at the moment, as you can see here. AU broke automatic rally, or that would be automatic support. Very slight increase in volume. Yeah, I mean, really just looking for the charts to say the buyers are inactive. Nothing about this says that right now. So it may show up, may go a little higher, do another fake break or hit the 618. Or the buyers could disappear and we could turn into a no demand situation. But that quite hasn't happened yet. If this volume is very low here. Yeah, we're dropping off a bit. So this may be finally some lack of demand showing up. I'll see if it wants to get through off of that. You're missing something because I thought this would be an entry. Well, there's no demand, is there? Where do you see no demand? Now, this might be this candle, and then confirm. The only thing we've seen so far is that, again, market open, so we can't trust that. But we get 15 minutes into it. We still have high volume. We have a fake break patterns in the fib, and we start to come down. That's not an entry, right? We need the test. Same old stuff. Nothing new. Okay, am I hearing gunshots outside? The heck was that? It's heard about 8 gunshots. Not kidding. That's some leftover fireworks from the holiday. No, it was definitely not a natural sounding sound. No, that was could be. It's definitely not the weather. No, it's either gunshots or fireworks. I don't hear any tropical storm there. um, well, we'll see if we hear sirens and screaming or something. So far, it's quiet. Ken, when you say still need the test, what are you meaning specifically? Come on, you know this. Really? Weakness, no demand? Uh, so not just breaking AR, also need, yeah, well, I don't, I'm not really considering any of this as a clean pattern yet and an automatic support. This is market open. This is a bit of weakness. I don't really see a clear test area that we just broke through. And even if it was, the volume's too high on that and it's showing strength. So if you're pushing through and taking that as an entry, you can't have high volume on that. So I'm not sure what you're calling an automatic support. If it's that, then it failed. Sean G pushing through. Mm-hmm. I'm not rushing the short. I want to be convinced. The background is there. The weakness is there. We're at a good level. I want to see that the demand is gone. Now here could be no demand showing up your dollar, but we haven't confirmed that by moving below. If we move up, we could take that as a test area, automatic support. I'm not rushing it, not convinced the buyers are gone. Determining the right automatic route, automatic support. Okay. I just don't see a clean pattern here, and I feel like we just got to the level. We have a bit of jumbled volume, and it's got to prove no demand to some extent. I'm not being so robotic about it. I just wanted to see proof of no demand some way or another, take it from there. Until that happens, there's nothing to do anyway. Yeah. Technically, no supply on the GU, right? Or no demand, rather, which did not see it close below yet. We played with it, but let's see. If we were not able to see the change in bias, I don't know. Go back to basics. It's nothing complicated. Well, I don't hear the police out there. if it ends up like a real crime scene over there, I do have the gunshots possibly recorded in the webinar. If you give it to an audio forensic dude, he could probably pull them out. I'd guess there was about 6 to 8 shots. It was the first one, then it was a pause, and then the second one and a pause, and then they got like bam, 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 bam. Yeah, sounded like a handgun. It was probably fireworks from July 4th. But you know, when they interview people on the news and stuff after there's been a shooting, they very often say, "I thought it was fireworks." They sound the same, just that pop. I'm still sending to private. Did we work out how to send to everyone? I have no idea, and it's not any setting that I could do. Yeah, I see that some messages are private to me, some are not. And then even the one, and then there are some people in here that are not seeing any of the messages. I think it was, forget who, even when they were typed to the whole group, Adil. So that's something up with the webinar that it's not a setting of mine that I can adjust. I went through the settings. There's nothing there as far as like, it's just allow people to chat or turn off the chat. That's the only chat setting I have. I'm not sure what that is there. But either way, I see your questions. So some of you may be seeing some of them or none of them. I don't know. Not a setting I can adjust. Different today from yesterday? Yeah, I think it's just a glitch in the software that they're going to have to work out. Probably do an update or something. But most importantly, I can see them. Are we convinced of no demand? Well, right now the sellers have backed off. We get to see what the buyers are up to. And there's a very low volume on the up move. Maybe this will bring in sellers again here. We get a double top fake break. AU went higher, okay, or at least back to the top. We get in there on the 1 minute. Are the sellers showing up? Yep. But are the buyers gone? No. Are they very active? No. So it's cooking, right? It's in the oven. Sean, be nice if AU can bounce off 618. You like, yeah. 618 overshoot. Or at any point here, just get squashed on weakness. You get a fake break. But it looks like there's a little more buying on the Australian dollar versus the other two here. So, or, okay, Euro's popping up too. And this is where the selling would start to increase right into this box. Check the 1 minute. It did get squashed. Volume increase. But that's the situation. The sellers are positioning, and we need to dry up the buyers before we expect them to mark it down. Back in 1 minute. All right. See what's developing. Okay. Find out about sellers again. Looks like we got an increase in activity here and could get the weakness. No rush, huh? It's good. We get to make sure the sellers are still active and the buyers are inactive. No rush. New high ground, we'd want to see some increase in volume, so we did. It's cooking. And good old regular trend trade could happen here on the yens. Yeah, really good conditions for July, not typically this good. I mean, the UJ is even tradable at this point because of the lack of the correlation between the two. We can look at some other pairs if you want, just ask. But here, obviously, pairing these together is good at the moment. I typically don't trade it because they're similar and you have a lot of days like this. But we can see how it broke off here, really, yesterday a lot. Of course, the interest rate decision yesterday, Canada, came in as strength. Back out, look at the daily chart, nothing crazy, but there was an increase in activity, and of course that big spike, but it comes in as strength. There's a clear sign of strength, there's a clear outcome, there's a lack of selling there. And with the strong US dollar, that all comes together. I mean, it's a little wacky drawing the fib on that, but there are some clean levels. I could see that easily happening if that hits strength. It does match the background. Very obvious level. This is kind of getting back into the weeds. I wouldn't really look for that. But this could set up. But it's all dependent on this strong US dollar business. Dollar Swiss, I'm sure, is bullish. Or sloppy. But there's that high activity yesterday, strength, high volume creating a sign of strength, and then high volume leading to higher prices. No weakness. So the story is there all around. It's that US dollar strength running the show there and yen weakness. So anything involving those pairs is going to have that influence. This is just odd looking. Not my first choice. Oh, now I hear the sirens. Took you long enough. It sounds a couple blocks away. Let's see how close it gets. I hear faint sirens off in the distance. Yeah, there they are. Even if it was fireworks, the cops are going to show up. It's 4 a.m. Either way. Come knock on my door. Get on your knees and put your hands behind your head. All right. Oh, yeah. That is a second one. I'll stop talking if you want to turn up your volume. You may hear them. Oh, I have a noise gate on my microphone. Oh, yeah. Here we go. So again, just looking for it to come down and give possibly a no demand for short entries on these guys. Maybe clean up a bit because right now it's just, if you look at the pound, it's a bit choppy. It started off nicely with weakness. That was 15 minutes into the session. So it's trustworthy, but we haven't seen any real drop in volume here. No demand situation. There's a bit of buying maybe here still. This could go and do a fake breakout, and we'd want a volume spike there, and then look for the no demand. So I think it's just a matter of patience here. Again, good volume here. Potentially the double top on GU. Potentially the weakness. All right, considering it now, at what point would I be convinced that the buying is dried up here and a no demand? Certainly below this level of no demand. Anything a little higher, I'd be considering that a bit aggressive. If it does set up euro dollar, I'd be looking for the test of the low for a read on how much buying is around if I get into the trade. But ideally a leg down for today, unless large buying comes in, which is unlikely. Again, we could go higher and set up, if it goes through these areas. The background is just still bearish. It is what it is. And if it wants to go higher, we do have some levels. But this particular spot would keep things very clean. A very high probability. But if it wants to go higher and volume doesn't change as far as, seeing some change in bias, then we do have higher levels. The smart sellers are looking for the same thing, looking at the same thing. It's nice that they're positioning short, but if the buyers are too active, they're not going to force it. They're going to let it go higher and get a better deal. Let whoever is looking to buy get in and get committed, and then run them over after. So these couple of levels, if we do get through these lines that I drew here off no demand, then certainly by that point, if not sooner, but certainly by that point at the latest, I would be convinced of the lack of buying. If we get below there without strength, if we see a no demand test here, and if buyers don't show up here, it's likely to start marking down. Now there's 14 EMA. It's a bit high up. And if it was a cleaner pattern and really void of buyers, I might consider that, but I'll be a little patient. It's kind of a good and bad when the London Open gives you the spot that you want and the setup that you want may be forming, because you get the artificial volume spikes. It's may not be as clean as if it happens, 30 minutes into the session, then we finally reach the level that we were looking for, or a couple hours in. It's nice that we don't have to wait, but we don't have the cleanest pattern, being that it is off the open. But we give it some time and it cleans up. Of course, this is a very good sign here. This weakness now confirmed, double top on GU. but they're all likely to correlate. They may uh, you may see multiple pairs set up at the same time, or at least giving you the same information, whether one's a setup or all three or whatever. But they should generally be giving you the no demand situation at the same time, and then end up being the same, similar for the day. Could be cleaner, but AU is a bit sloppy. But the potential is there. It's a good situation. Patience, patience. Well, not much action outside. I guess I'll check the news later. I wouldn't be surprised if it was, gunshots or fireworks, and nobody called the police because it's New York City and whatever. Go back to sleep. But I did hear multiple cars, multiple sirens there for a couple of minutes. Yep, yep. It's too bad I had my noise gate on because it probably didn't pick up the sound. Otherwise, I could maybe have this webinar in a courtroom being dissected by, all right, professional forensic audio people. How you doing? You can't have them listening to this for free. Well, yeah, I mean, it's not live anymore, but yeah, point taken. If you want the recording of the gunshots, you're going to have to pay. And I just raised my price. Sorry. Yes, increase in demand would raise my prices. I had to put my air conditioner on. I was listening out, but enough. It's getting hot. Okay, you're $1. So as I said, if we can get through here, Again, we're working off the market open volume spike, and it's a bit sloppy up here, but we do have the double top. We do have this confirmation of weakness after we settle down into regular volume. We do have that right off of the zone. 14 EMA, no real issue there. Obviously, we're getting through it. Could take the trade at this point, but I want to see a little more confirmation of lack of buying, no demand, and or these guys starting to correlate and come down too. Because right now, a bit of euro weakness is maybe the driving force. We want the dollar strength as the driving force. See the EJ, that might be coming down. It might be just a euro thing. I don't want the euro driving the setup. I want the correlation of the US dollar driving the setup. And I think this little drop on the euro, yeah, is just kind of a euro thing. Yeah. As I say, when you have the situation where US dollar is driving the move, in this case, as usual, if one sets up and the others are nowhere near setting up, like the euro maybe, then it's the euro driving it and it's not the event, so to speak. Now, it may be that the euro is the better trade if the euro has some weakness coming in. And I wouldn't say it's wrong to take a trade on the euro, but the understanding should be there, what I mean, which is the situation starts to play out across the correlated pairs, the correlation of the US dollar. And these guys are just kind of sitting up high. Can't really say that we've come down enough to test for buyers, but the euro did. And again, that's really a little more selling on the euro rather than the situation coming together just yet. Nice to see this guy stay low volume, a little pause 50 EMA. Test here, see some low volume, get through that, then I would be convinced. If there's no strength through here, that we're actually doing it. But again, to see the others come down and at least have the resemblance of a setup, find out about buyers again, would be nice. But the weakness is there, double top, weakness is there. It's all there. Just being patient, wait for it to come around. And again, with these guys, a simple trend trade on the ends, unless it wants to go into new high ground on very low volume, then I'd consider a scalp long or a break test. Well, hopefully we can move down and get that simple trend trade. Take it as it comes. All right, so any last questions? I'll give a minute for that before I go. So just to tell you what I'm thinking, I'm kind of in a weird situation because in July, again, it usually dies out by now, and I'm kind of off the hook where the charts are just slow or sloppy or typical for the time of year. And I used to hate it. Now it's like, all right, bring it, so I can just take a break, go to a normal sleep schedule. It's whatever the chart says, and if it gets to that point, I can stop for 4 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever. But it's been a good week. It's still clean, and I kind of want to stop. It's like I want to get fired from my job, please. Just because again, like spending time with my daughter. She's off from school in summertime, having a normal sleep schedule during the summer, getting some daytime life going on. I kind of want to do that. So I'm taking it as it comes. Keep you informed if I make any decision. I kind of want the charts to tell me it's okay. You're too sloppy. Go live your life for 4 or 6 weeks. Come back later. But it's just not happening. It's still good. Shit. Could have worse problems. No questions? Okay. So again, yeah, I'll just say it again. Um, Getting through here is where I really get convinced and feel safe about looking for the short through these levels. The 14 EMA is a bit high up, and in those cases, which is more rare on a setup, but it's kind of a sideways, slow, sloppy setup here, right? Compared to what we normally see, which could be a move up. You get your spike, and it just all kind of sets up and does our usual pattern. It's a bit choppy, but it's there. But that's where I would be convinced if we can get down there, clear the 50 EMA, clear an obvious support test area, and see that the buyers are not present there. It's still good for stop loss and the risk reward. We're still very high up, so there's no rush up here. I mean, a pound dollar, if you get in that rounded off 10, looking at a 25, 30 pip stop the most. So it's all still in the usual range. So we're just very high up. Here again, if we're going to move up, we can make sure those sellers are still active. Make sure they're still active. If not, maybe it goes higher and sets up from a higher level. Maybe this creates a fake break and a volume spike and comes down and tells us that the setup is even better now, right? On that pound. New high ground. So let's take a quick look at that. The 1 minute, and we'll see, our sellers all over this. Are they going to squash this down? Or are they going to wait for higher prices? Because there's enough buying to do that. We will see here. Give it a minute. And again, as far as the yens, it's a simple trend trade for the most part, ideally, unless we go into new high ground on very low volume. Then I look for the scalp entry or break test. UJ is actually tradable to go long, but I mean, the same thing that would drive UJ is driving the others. So I don't think I'd be taking the UJ, but it's a good piece of information about this imbalance now that started yesterday, maybe a bit the day before, of the US dollar being much stronger than the yen rather than them correlating. It's a good way to see it visually and see how that is going along. It is showing a bit of weakness there. That's that 10 minutes into the session. Just feels like it's cooking. Dollar CAD, nothing wrong with that. But again, based on the same situation. Dollar Swiss, I don't really like that, but more because of the Swiss, of course, Frank, not because of the US dollar. That's pretty straightforward. And we do have a really large volume spike. The 5 minute is kind of weird looking down there. I don't know if I'm missing data or what, but we do have low price, high volume, downtrend. That's now looking like it's reversing. But I don't love that pair. Not much else to say. Euro and the pound are correlating. This is like, the UJ often looks like when they're correlating. So just taking a quick look at that to see, what might be better, pound trade or a euro trade. And it's really no difference. Okay, so we do see this drop in volume. This I want to check with another broker, but either way, if the volume's low and I see the price getting accepted into a higher ground, then the selling is not showing up. And again, there's some higher levels to look for. But that was key, right? To see weakness come in here. Maybe it'll happen here, but we're not seeing it. So maybe a bit higher. So the higher prices need the sellers to show up. Lower prices need to see lack of buying. And if it veers off from that, it's a wait and see situation. Let it clean up. Forex.com isn't showing any significant increase in volume. Yeah. And also just looking at the way it behaved kind of communicated, right, that oh, well, there it is. But these first couple didn't attract it. We just sat there. Whether we're missing some data or not. But we got this little spike. Now it's coming down, maybe. Okay, well, that could turn into a fake break now that 1 minute's given a spike off the high price. So far, the reaction is good, getting to the point, creating the fake break, maybe. All right, so we know what we're looking for. It's got to be patient. Again, here, euro. Sellers show up. It's all good. Continuing to look for it. If they don't, it's a wait and see and wait for that right situation where sellers are active high prices and buyers are inactive on the lower prices for the test. Got to have the imbalance. All right, guys. Well, pretty darn good for July. I'll see how long I want to continue. Sorry to be flaky, but I explained the situation. Usually I dread when the charts start to go sloppy. This summer I'm asking for it. I want a break. But like I said, yeah, we could have worse problems. Okay. Not really complaining. Nice squash here, nice squash, nice fake breakout. Should be coming around. Patience, patience. All right, guys. Have a good one next time.